It's like I hit success by an accident because I wasn't prepared for taking what it takes to be at that level.
See, most of the time success comes and then no one saw what was required to get the success. So everybody just thinks that it's luck, or they thinks that it just happened.
Me, bro, 2015, I was just still thinking it was 100%. I was just lucky. You know, I just dreaming about being a professional bodybuilder. And eventually I just went to try it. And as soon as I get my muscles pumped, it was a complete addiction. I mean, I was so hungry. It took me just 1 year to be the biggest guy at the gym.
What I've actually done in my life is that I keep showing up regardless of how I feel. And then what happens is in the movement, that's when the pain dissipates.
Yeah.
And I call that the distraction of movement, the distraction of where your thoughts go.
And that's when I started seeing like, okay, the best thing that ever happened on my career is having the accident.
Right.
The accident brings me to understand the fundamentals should be there the whole time, because you know bodybuilding doesn't happen at school to build fundamentals. So I start doing Pilates, yoga, and then I start seeing everything I was skipping as a bodybuilder because I was just focused on the goal. But most people is like, no day off, no day off, no day off.
Right.
And then the stress is gonna create some kind of look that is gonna lie to you. But some kind of like, your condition is not 100%. Why? It's weird what I'm saying, but spirit, mind, and body is the blueprint.
So Anton told me about you and said that we had to connect. And I absolutely adore Anton. Just, you know, like, it's funny, interesting you just said, you know, this was kind of meant to be. When I met Anton and the more I got to know him, I was like, man, it's like crazy. I always call him like a mother from a brother from a different mother. Like, there's just so much that he will say on his Instagram or will tell me some stories where he's just a very relatable guy. And I'm interested to hear your story, but I don't get that very often. Like, what I mean by that is like, sometimes I feel like I'm on an island, like the way I think, the way I go about life. And so when you find these like-minded men, then you want to kind of, you know, at least get to know them, at least have some type of relationship. So if he told me I should sit down with you, then that's saying something. And so I'm really encouraged that you're here. So thank you for coming, and let's just dive into this. So
it's crazy because exactly what you say. I have been observing this situation happens over and over, but recently is when I realized the mechanism of how it happens. I found out, brother, that sometimes you can know somebody for like 10 years, but you never talk or dive into something until the conversation just come out. But when you see behind the time that you took to be talking about this kind of thing, you realize that it didn't happen before for a reason, because you were in some point dimension on your mind, and this person was already there, so you couldn't connect because it wasn't in the same symphony until you grow up enough to just say one word, and he's like, oh, I know where you're coming from. And then the conversation will go wild.
right,
Like it's gonna happen right now. For example, it means to happen for me to be here today, because when I hear your interview, I was like, it's being weird because it happens the same things with me. You know, I just dreaming about being a professional bodybuilder, coming from just seeing in the magazines. I was doing all sports when I was a kid. And eventually I just went to try it. And as soon as I get my muscles pumped, it was a complete addiction, because you know already how it feels.
exactly.
But what I'm trying to say is that sensation, it was something that it connected me with myself, and I just going through it. I want to be a professional bodybuilder, and it happens. coming to United States, signing to be a professional. And then I thought it was going to be like a football player or a baseball player that you're going to get millions from sponsors.
Yeah.
It happened exactly that way. But I started living out of the career for the rest of my life until today. So one day I was walking into the elevator and a girl came and said, "You want to be in a movie?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it was Pain and Gain. It was filmed here in Miami. Yep. So that's a similarity with you. But in my case, everything was kind of easy during the whole time until things started going a little difficult into the business of bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't explain why that was happening because it's like the mechanism of power of attraction and all this stuff. I didn't know about anything like that at that time. But now I understand because I was so lost into the idea of becoming pro and living that life. I didn't see how much power and effort and intention put into that thing. I was just like living it every day. Even when people around me were saying like, "Hey, it's not possible, it's not gonna happen. Look at you, don't have the money," and stuff like that. Mm. But it happens.
Yeah.
I built up everything until the point that I was living exactly the dream I wanted. Being sponsored, getting the money, just go sleep, trying and go back. But exactly the way I planned it. I never thought about making a business out of my image. I wasn't listening to the people because they were bothering me. So it's like I hit success by an accident because I wasn't prepared for taking what it takes to be at that level, you know? So
well, let me stop you because you said something just now that kind of, so you said you hit success by accident, but to me though.
It looks like.
See, that's
what I used to say until I realized because what is the meaning behind it. All the
dedication, all the things that people don't see, you're building on that. So success, see, most of the time success comes and then no one saw what was required to get to success. So everybody just thinks that it's luck or they thinks that it just happened.
Me, bro, 2015, I was just still thinking it was 100%. That's what I was saying all the time. I was just lucky. Because I never had a coach. I never had a personal trainer.
Yeah.
Everything was just empiric. I see the magazine and boom. I become to sit down eating with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, The Rock, and all of these people just out of the dream.
When did you come to?
2007 for first time.
And where did you come from?
Venezuela. South America.
So you came to Miami the very first time in 2007.
Yeah.
Okay. And I came to Miami in 2001.
For 4 days. Yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, but around
4 days?
Yeah. In 2007 for 4 days, but then eventually I come to leave in 2010.
Oh, okay. So you came here for 4 days, you went back, and then you were like, I got to come back.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It was like, I couldn't contain the excitement about coming here and make it happen.
Were you bodybuilding in Venezuela?
Yes, that's how I turned pro.
When did you start bodybuilding?
2001.
2001. And what, if you don't mind me asking, like what age was that?
17.
Oh, okay. So this is something that you have been doing for a long time.
I see it for first time at the age of 15.
Okay.
But my mother didn't want me to go to the gym because he used to believe that I'm going to be short if I start lifting weights.
Oh my gosh. Is that not the biggest? I heard that crap too. Like you're not going to grow if you lift weights. Like,
man. So I was like,
it's interesting that you were in Venezuela hearing that. And I was in Alabama hearing the same thing. That was such a myth. Like everybody talked like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, man, this is, if we got last time, so I want to work into explaining one idea that I have been building just and observing the human body. Mm-hmm. So, man, I was spending 2 years reading magazines, seeing the guys in the magazines. So I learned how to pose before going to the gym.
Wow.
When I went into the gym, I was so perfectionist because I was trying to apply everything I was reading. I was so hungry.
Yeah.
That it took me just 1 year to be the biggest guy at the gym. That was what I was doing. So a lot of things like you said, the whole process of getting to succeed in life, but I never had anyone to explain me these things. I was just doing.
You were
doing.
self-taught, self-learner.
Yeah.
Most of the things you applied in the gym were things that you read, correct?
And see and
see
videos.
in videos, yes.
Yeah, but I was always, for some reason, I was always trying to be like in the level of a professional action. That's as the mechanism of power of attraction, all of this way is that you gotta see yourself at that level. So, and I did it exactly that way. That is exactly why I'm so excited about this information, because I live it.
Right.
I did exactly everything.
You're a byproduct of being intentional from the very beginning.
Yes. But I never knew it until I went through depression, an accident, and that's when I started observing my life, my career, and having the information at the same time. And that's the only way I could realize that everything I did, it was exactly what they're talking about.
So can you bring this full circle? So you started bodybuilding at 17 years old. When was the high point, or maybe you haven't even reached it yet, but when, in your mind so far, when was the high point of your bodybuilding career?
2016.
2016.
I was qualified for the Olympia.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So at 2016, I qualified. Everything was good, but I couldn't compete. So next year, I was getting ready, stuff like that. And my coach says, like, I'm not going to help you anymore. I'm going to take a while off of this. And I was like a little lost. So then I asked a friend of mine, a well-known guy in the bodybuilding industry, is Ben Pakulski.
Okay.
My previous coach was Hani Rambo. So he said he will take a while because he's going to be working with his company, trying to make it better and stuff like this. I understood. We never had any agreement or any kind of like, contract stuff. So I was okay. I never complained. So I called a few times. Ben, he couldn't talk. I went to Olympia and I saw Milos Arceps. So one guy that was following my entire life through videos. And I asked him can help, and he said yes. So in 2017, I did shows, and that's when I get the biggest. I get 290 pounds, huge.
You were 290 pounds?
Yeah, walking around like in condition.
Condition 290?
Condition, yeah. Woo! With Milos, it was amazing. The only problem was that then COVID came in. Everybody locks down.
Yeah.
And me sitting down.
So this is... So what happened? So and I apologize. I'm just trying to follow. So 2016, you qualified for the Olympia, but you didn't compete.
Yes.
Okay. And then 2017,
I did a show with Milos.
Okay.
But when I was with him, I was using the protocol of the insulin, like blowing up everything, and it was cool. The only problem is that I never hit a real good condition.
Okay.
For me, I mean, like judge requirements.
Right.
But for me, everything was working properly. So, but I learned in that process a lot. So then COVID coming, I locked down, but I never buy any kind of equipment for myself in my house or anything. So me sitting down for 3 months because I freak out. I will tell you that I'm already saw all the movies of virus and fucking, the end of the world.
Right.
So I was freak out and I locked down and I don't do anything.
Here in Miami.
In Miami. So me sitting down every day and not moving with the amount of thickness I have, my muscles start getting scar tissue all around. And I didn't know. I started getting restriction to move. So when COVID go relax a little bit.
I wish we knew each other back then, bro.
And I started going out. I started going to train and stuff like this. So one day I was going to the gym, happy, the biggest ever. I was ready because I take a rest and stuff like this. So and then one car hit me from the side and tore my tendon in the shoulder. So I pulled the tendon out of the bone. Went through surgery. I never imagined to stop my career at any point. And everything I was building just go down to the floor. And that's when I hit depression. I have been married for 24 years. All the time I have been in bodybuilding is the time I have been married. So my wife couldn't help me. She was always living with the image of a positive person, powerful, but everything I had just go away.
Yeah.
So, and that's when, man, for like 7 months, just not thinking about anything else. Don't even see pictures. But one day I was just like questioning the reason of what the fuck, you know? So, and I had a dream talking to myself. If you never knew what was going to happen when you just started and you wasn't looking like this, so what if you fix the joint and you still have the opportunity because you already came a long way? And I wake up happy because of the idea of like, oh yeah. And then I start looking into recovery process and all this stuff. And I go to trying to understand how the mechanics of the joints work. And that started opening my mind a little bit. And then I started just like, okay, it wasn't a bad thing to having an accident, and just like I learned a little more things so I can have more sources to explain my clients and things like that.
Right.
So man, but I was still hurt, you know, because every time I was trying to working out, it was a little.
Did you have surgery on it?
Yes.
Yeah.
3 hours surgery to reattach the tendon. So it was crazy stuff.
And let me ask you just because I like hearing these like severe comebacks. So how much did you weigh when you got hit?
I was like 298 pounds.
And then after the surgery, like after about like
it took
not
me
being
6
able to,
months to
did you lose a lot of weight?
To do the surgery because I didn't want it to give up.
Right.
To the idea of it was just a tear because I couldn't fit in the machine for the MRI until I lost weight enough. So I feed on it. They see it was partial. And because they say it was partial, I was about to go and say like, hey, doctor, do you think my attorney, so you think I can sue this person's insurance and they will cover the stem cell? They want to make surgery no matter what. You know, they want to just
of course,
into the
right.
paperwork. And they say, yeah. So I went to the interview with the doctor. They see the MRI and they say it's partial, but we gotta go to before put the stem cells. We should go with the camera, just clean the area, and then you're gonna be in the gym in 2 weeks. Don't worry. Oh, when I wake up, bro, after the surgery, it was 3 hours, and they were talking and they were showing videos, and I was just like, I still drugged, you know, like I couldn't. But when I was at home, I was like, what the fuck these people did to me, you know? And well, eventually after everything is when I realized, okay, God, you stopped me like, why you stop my career? I'm so perfectionist that you will never ever see me injury in the gym.
Right.
Never.
Right.
You know, it's been doing squat with 3 plays, 15 reps for 24 years.
Right.
And I'm perfection in every angle, you know?
Yeah.
So what I didn't know is that the thickness shortened the muscles. Muscles shorten them, decrease range of motion. And no matter what, if you are a perfectionist over years, you're not going to be able to move properly.
Right. You're not going to be able to lengthen or have the mobility.
That thing. So this is the first reason I see like, okay, now the accident brings me to understand the fundamentals should be there the whole time. Because you know bodybuilding doesn't happen at school to build fundamentals.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, so I start doing Pilates, yoga, and then I start seeing everything I was skipping as a bodybuilder because I was just focused on the goal constantly. And that's when I start seeing my whole career, like I never enjoyed it. I never was there. I was just doing it to create the outcome. And that's when I started seeing like, okay, the best thing that ever happened on my career is having the accident.
Right.
And then it started being more like appreciative of everything that happens to me. And then God revealed the whole things to me. Okay, this is a testimony you're going to use from the platform of fitness. Because now I'm perfect. I'm doing overhead press. I'm doing squat overhead, the full range of motion. And
nice. So you're 100% healed now,
like
today.
100%. Flexible.
And how long did it take, though, from the time?
2 years.
2 years. Okay.
So to be able to be like a handstand and stuff like that.
And are you bodybuilding anymore? I'm
doing bodybuilding. What I would do is I want to go into classic because I'm weighing 240, but
Okay.
my lines are still,
Yeah.
there. Things that I'm talking about, what it comes to me, all this information, because it's weird what I'm saying, but man, I came with the idea of, you already know what it requires to build a business.
Mm-hmm.
You already know what it requires to have a good health and longevity. And you already know what consciousness means. If you put all of three together, spirit, mind, and body is the blueprint. Because fitness people manage metabolism perfectly. Because to be able to build muscle, you have to know the mechanism to make it happen.
Right.
But you at the same time want to burn as much fat as possible. So you still have to know how the mechanism works. When you understand both of those together, there is no argument doctor can go in against you. So now you understand how food work in self in terms of chemistry, because plants still have chemistry as protein, animal protein, as fats and fruits and carbohydrates. So when you really understand how all of them work and how they interact with every one of your organs, you know exactly when to eat carbohydrates, when and why and how much to eat,
Right.
with what purpose. And then you have the information of fasting that is being based on cleans the body, cleans the receptors, that steal the organs. Once they are so clean, they will work with more efficiency. So you're not going to require that much food. Based on all of this information, I find out that now you see the body and all aspects as people who do contortionists, people who do parkour. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, parkour was people just jumping out of the car and rolling. Now they are jumping from here and rolling. That means that the body over the years has been built some mechanism to absorb the impact in the floor.
Right.
So if you put parkour, a pole dance technique, or calisthenic and contortion together, and then you put these people to learn how to build muscle and strength, you have a ninja right there.
Yeah,
you can compare this human person with a monkey.
Right.
So this is what I want to go deep. Human body, humanity. If you believe in God, and if you believe that you are God living this physical life, you think God will put his sense in something so limited? So the body is the God greatest creation. And there is no way somebody can know.
Well, he created us in his image.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's not human, but he gives us a body that have all the power to do whatever we want. Look at what it's doing football players. The only thing is that we haven't been teaching in another direction. Like, for example, using shoes with something that support your arch, it's a really bad thing because the arch come relaxed because it's like being sitting all day. And then the muscle that support the form of the foot doesn't work anymore. So you start having knee pain, hip flexors pain, lower back pain, and the entire body start to fuck up.
Yep.
So that's why we're supposed to be always barefoot as much as possible.
Right.
So to keep that condition in the human body, like the mechanism of the all joints working together. You already know about the connecting chains from one side of the body to the other, all across the body. So it is, So, and my purpose in this whole situation is being based on I now understand why all of these things happen in my life. Helping others how to understand and make everything work together, and that's what I have been doing all of this time. After the accident, I had just been building some mechanism to make like a product.
Yeah.
To just help people to understand this. Previous to that, I was having the idea of be an motivational speaker. And looking from God sense, I still, I was like, I went through all of this experience just to be a person who wants to motivate others, want to tell others that you still have the chance, and this is how you can overcome situations. I gotta leave it. to be able to explain it.
Of course.
So, and
You got to be the example. If you're going to go out there and tell other people, you have to.
I couldn't understand some point. I want to kill myself. But then I understood. I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Because now every time I had the opportunity to talk to somebody, I feel like you have the opportunity to talk with another whole galaxy in the brain of that person. Because you know that you can see something that somebody else is dreaming about. You know, so it's an opportunity for me to talk to you, hearing to you, see how you overcome situation, because it's more sources of, you know, how I can say this. It's like for me, having the opportunity to interact with somebody and know how this person go through life, it gives me more source of reference for me to apply in something that I might gonna be going through in the future. I don't know.
Yeah. I was just talking to my dad on the phone, and my dad's been dealing with a lot of sciatic nerve pain, and he's been dealing with a lot of shingle pain because he had a bout of shingles, and it's gone, but the pain has not relieved. And we were just talking about, and I don't know if you know my history with I broke my back twice and all that. So what I was trying to tell my dad is that where our mind goes, our pain goes. So what I feel like I've done, especially recently, has been very intentional with my thoughts. And because if you focus on the pain, then you're going to increase the pain. But if you can find ways to distract your thoughts from the pain. And then I heard it another way, which was very interesting. I heard a guy say that he focuses on the pain to not think about the pain. And I think and I'm taking this a little, you know, I hope you can follow this, but I think we're saying the same thing, because it's kind of like, and I'll use the cold plunge, for example. When you get into a cold plunge, there's no way that it's not going to be cold, right? Like, it is the cold plunge. It's 36 degrees. And what I see a lot of people is they fight the pain because your feet are going to hurt, your hands are going to hurt. It's going to hurt. And I'll never forget when my mom first got into the cold plunge. She was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know my feet were going to hurt so bad, you know? And I was like, Mom, it's going to hurt. It's 36 degrees. But what I tell people when they get into the cold plunge is that you want to accept the cold. And so there's this weird...
And it changed everything like
that.
It happens to me.
Yeah. And then so it's like... the correlation, I believe, is that if we accept the things that we know, but we overcome them mentally in spite of it, then that's how we keep going. Yeah. So lately, a lot of times I've been waking up with like hip pain and stuff like that. Well, your first reaction obviously is, I'm not going to work out today. My hip hurts. You know, that's a common thing. You know, you wake up, you have shoulder pain. Well, I'm not going to do shoulders today. And what I've actually done in my life is that I keep showing up regardless of how I feel. So it doesn't matter how I feel. And then what happens is in the movement, that's when the pain dissipates. Yeah. And I call that the distraction of movement, the distraction of where your thoughts go. Because as we know, there's nothing better, right, than working out. That pump, that feeling, like, you know, Arnold describes it as coming, you know, yes. I come everywhere, you know, and so if people can start to, regardless of their emotions, their feelings, and their circumstances, and you just do it anyways. And in that doing is where the distraction comes, and then that's where the results come from. Is showing up for yourself every single day and just doing it. But oftentimes people wake up and they're like, oh, I can't work out because my foot hurts. I can't work out because my shoulder hurts. And then another thing too that irritates me is that, you know, my shoulder hurts today. Okay, you have legs. My ankle hurts today. Okay, you have upper body, you know, like there's always something we can do. And walking, almost everybody can do. Like anybody can just start to walk. And walking, I've always said that walking and water are some of the basic foundations of health that we tend to ignore. And if we can get moving and walking and being hydrated, then you're just going to see so much more change in your life, you know, from a health standpoint. But yeah,
everything you said for me makes a lot of sense, because the problem with I've been seeing it too. I start talking to my mom with more intention about that. My mom is 72 years old. So
My mom's around the same age too.
I was telling her like you should do some exercises. So going through my whole process of rehabilitation, when I start understand how the body alignments are in all senses, I was like, oh, so squatting is being one of the most like exercises that people says like it's the more harder to do free weight. But then start coming people out of school and PhD and all of this stuff talking about the correct technique and biomechanical.
Right.
Even if I ask you right now, what's the technique for squatting? You will start talking about. But make sense on this. We have been squatting before we learn to walk, because the first movement that the baby do is that position to going up.
And are you not so jealous of these babies that do it? Like when I see my son squat, I'm like, man, that's an amazing
because
squat.
He got all alignment
Exactly.
correctly, and all the the lengthening of the muscle joint and everything is working good. So based on that, squatting biomechanics is in our instinct as a human. So now, if you ask somebody, okay, let's say there is no toilet, but you have to go. What position you gonna do? Exactly that one. If any human can not perform that position, it's because have an entire problem in his body. No flexible, no balance, no muscle engagement. So I start telling my mom, I want you to start squatting every day, body weight, as long as you can. Don't question. So just do it every day. And since that, my mother started doing it with a little bit of weight. She started walking, then she started lunging. And I was like, oh my God, thank you, God.
That's amazing.
Because she always complained, and South America, gears have been growing with the idea of you have to have a fine foot.
You have to have a what?
Fine, like a really like a delicate foot. You can foot. Yeah.
Okay.
So everyone is trying to like put something tight to keep the foot small and beautiful.
Really?
Yes.
So you're not allowed to have big feet in Latin America?
No, because we think that
my wife would not.
It's
work,
an ugly
my wife
stuff,
has some big feet. They're sexy, but they're big.
Yeah. So, and my mom was killing his foot forever because she was always using high heels,
cramming them in the high heels. Yeah.
So I never understood until I was going through the same thing because of how heavy I was. I was walking on my heels. And then I started having pain in my big toe. I never get injury. And that was when I COVID, because when I was not moving. And then I started understanding, food mechanism is different. Everything comes from here, and then started applying those things. So, and my mother doing all of these things, for me, is like, oh my God, I'm in the right direction knowing all of these things. So that brings me to talk to people who do muscle therapy and all this stuff, and all the muscle therapy I have receiving through the years. And I was seeing like, some people is missing some things, because a guy who do great therapy, but he never done sports and never received that kind of thing, cannot talk from that side. But it's like being in jail. Any prisoner who has been there for an injustice cause and is having the problem that maybe his lawyer is not helping him, he will learn more about law than the lawyer. So he will know laws from two different scenarios. And this is the same thing with people who receive therapy and go into the therapy school, understand both sides in a different way. So what I learned is that when you have good muscle engagement, like for example, most of the people who tear the pec is because of the supraspinatus is not strong enough and it's not lengthen enough because it's the muscle that makes the antagonistic movement of going down. So most of the guys who's training in bodybuilding doesn't know and doesn't understand this. But who understands this better than nobody? A gymnastics person.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that's why you see how much they can dislocate the shoulder. It's because all joints coming from the neck and coming from the thorax are connecting, are strong, because the muscles that attach joints should be more stronger than the muscles outer, and should be more flexible than the muscles outer. So that's why when we spend so much time sitting down, since we are babies, sit down, stay quiet, sit down, stay quiet. And then we go to school, sit down, sit down. Then we go to jobs, we drive car. So our pelvis muscle, abductors, hamstrings, hip flexors muscle, lower back muscle, they are all fucked up. They don't have mobility, they don't have nothing.
Right.
So any person who go to 40s, 50, if first of all they start with the idea that I'm getting older, they start to deteriorate, and then by the 70 years old, they are fucked up. They cannot walk anymore. And you haven't seen this. But the people who goes to the gym and always do constantly stuff, somebody who is just practicing deadlift, overhead press and stuff like that, or just calisthenics, or the people who do yoga and they are older. That was one of the things that I started observing first. How they have been doing this until I started doing yoga and find out why it was so hard. It looks soft, but it's super hard because position, keeping them and be able to stress the whole things to make it happen. Is when you realize, oh, I gotta be good in breathing, exercising.
Right.
It brings you to a good level of meditation and spirituality. You grow, and then your body gets better. You start feeling better, and man, it's no matter where you see from this, and everything brings you to the same direction. So you want to be more connected with the source of living life. It's just through understanding the body and put the mind on it.
What so now today, like what give us a little bit of insight on your routine personally. Like what is kind of walk us through a week of you.
Well,
personally for your body and your journey right now, where you are today.
So this is one thing. When people say muscle memory, every morning I wake up, I drink water, lime, and stuff like that. I fast for 20 hours before I eat my first meal. Okay. So doing this, I have found that, yes, fasting gives you so much energy because, like, for me, I already know what to eat exactly when and why, right, and what amount of. So I'm not worried about food anymore. Something that it was always taking away of me when I was trying to build my physique. I was always worried and complaining because time, I gotta eat, I gotta do this and stuff. I can miss a meal. Right. So much stress mentally. Yep. And if you miss a meal, it's fear because you're gonna lose game. So
same with football.
Same thing.
So we had to deal with it. It was constant, snacking, eating, like how many calories, and you literally they would weigh you before practice, like, and if you didn't weigh what you were supposed to weigh, they would shun you. So
it's frustrated at some point.
From 17 till I was probably 23, it was living like that.
So in that moment, you support it because we are young, right? But it's so much stress at that level that you come with something good, but at the same time, no one sit down and tell you, hey, it's supposed to be like that. Don't worry. So we're just good, So, and in my case, so no worries anymore about food. So I wake up, take my time, play with my dogs, talk to my wife. Then I just go to the gym. I drink sometimes fat burner. Sometimes I just take something that gives me some energy, like maybe energy drink.
Are you eating in the morning? Did you say you eat or no?
No.
So you're training fasted?
Training fasted.
Okay, same here. I do that too.
So I train for 1 hour cardio. I build the meaning of doing cardio as I love cardio until I just enjoy cardio.
Okay.
So I do
Says
cardio for
no one ever, but
Yeah.
Manuel loves cardio.
No, I do. I do. So
I'm messing with you. You know, most people hate cardio, so
I used to,
Yeah.
but at one point I gotta like change my mind about
yeah.
it.
And what's your go-to cardio?
Elliptical
Mm-hmm.
because it mimics running,
Okay.
and Stairmaster.
Stairmaster, which
But
is
I have been getting here and there the Peloton bike,
okay.
and just because it feels different
Yeah.
and targeting the body. Because,
And you do it for an hour.
Yeah. No matter which one, I do a 1 hour.
Okay.
Why? I like to train legs, but going to the classic physique class, I cannot make it bigger, so I cannot train too heavy.
Right.
But putting a lot of resistance to the machine feels like you're training legs.
Yeah.
So I do as much as I can, and it feels good to pump, still
Yeah.
pump, so
Yeah.
you know how it feels.
Right.
So I do the cardio 1 hour, and then I do just recovery routine. What I'm trying to do on this thing is just like overhead presses with lightweight,
Okay.
just focus on biomechanics and contraction, full stretching. And then I combine deadlift, squat, barbell row, and overhead press.
Okay.
Why did I do this? Because all of them makes the glutes, the hamstring, the quads, the calf, the serratus, and the intercostal muscles
Mm-hmm.
working all together. And shoulder blade, traps, So arms not much because I have good arms insertion, so muscle belly is really good and muscle separation is good. So I don't have to worry too much about them. So, but everything else, that's what I have been doing, man, for like a year.
And you're doing that every day?
Every day.
I love it.
Every day.
So these are your like your go-to exercises.
Yeah.
And
Here
routine.
and there is a guy in the gym like, oh, what you gonna do? Let's work out. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
And bro, telling you, in 20 years I was doing that career. Every time I was working out, I was my way. Like not training with somebody because you don't want to just compete with nobody, just like I was so me that I wasn't enjoying these things that I enjoy now. Like it's a guy who is just classic or is not into bodybuilding who wants to share a workout. I go with him.
Right.
It's not like you don't work out hard as I do, so
Right.
I'm gonna waste my time with you. No, it's more it's nice because you guys go through a conversation. You already know that.
Yeah.
So and I have been getting to know more people, and people's getting to know me better, and some tips here and there to help them stuff, and it's been good that way. So after that, I just go home, take my dogs, go do some work, training other people, talk to them in any ways I need. So do social media. And I have been writing stuff about the idea that I want to create.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I've been working on it. So
When's your first meal?
11 p.m.
Okay.
before bed.
And typically, what does that look like?
Normally, the meal is gonna be white rice first of all.
Okay.
Any type of protein, could be fish or it could be chicken. And after the first meal, that's plain, like salt and pepper. And then hour and a half later, I would do potatoes or sweet potato, like sweet potato fry in the air fry. It's a good thing. It's dry and And I do red meat, but I'm working between 150, 170 grams red meat
Okay.
and any other protein. So with this intention is what I'm doing is helping my body to keep it lean, clean inside, and having a lot more energy during the whole day. And using protein just to keep the muscle size I'm already have. I have still stimulate the muscle with the workouts I'm doing because I understood that I'm not gonna lose the size I built over the years.
Right.
I have been practicing because when I work with Milos, I told you I learned a lot about the insulin protocol. So here and there, since last year, I was applying the knowledge. Like, okay, the guys in the gym is telling me that I'm look skinny. I take 4 days and load in like 1,000 grams of carbohydrates It's easy for me to eat because I love food. And bro, I put 255, 10 pounds in 4 days, and then they look at me and, yeah, but that wasn't you because you got genetics. So
Yeah.
that's how I have been showing them, like, you don't have to kill yourself.
Right.
But it's not easy for them to tell this, and they believe to you because they think like, oh, because you stop your career and you think like now you're doing just to feel pleasure, but you're still not competing. So that's the reason why I will be competing again. So competing for me in classic is gonna be easy. 240 pounds. Right now I'm walking around 8% body fat with 240. So pushing from there to 4%, 3.8% body fat to go into the show is gonna be easy. All the muscle maturity I have, all the size muscle separation that I have over the years is right there. Because when I did the first show after the injury, I did masters just to see myself what I was.
Right.
But when I rebound from that show, at that show I did it at 240, and I rebound to 260. But I was big as normal as I used to be.
Yeah.
But with a better condition than ever. And then I was like, oh, I can do a classic show, and then I can do an open class show in the same year.
Right.
Because I have the condition, because my body just know that I've been bigger before. I don't have to force it to get there. So what I just need to do is apply the knowledge that I've been learning over the years. So it's like when you have this business that is passive income, this is what I'm doing. Passive income and keeping the body the way that I keep it. Because I do that meal at night, then I do the second one, and be like behind that one meal. So like after that meal, I do cookies, ice cream, whatever it comes around. And then I wait a little bit and go to bed around maybe 2 a.m. And that's it.
What time are you waking up?
Probably 7 in the morning.
So you're only getting about 5 hours of sleep?
All my entire life.
Really?
My entire life. There is so much things, man, that is being said in a lot of podcasts and a lot of information, because we are living in the era of the information.
Information, yeah.
So
information overload.
Yes. When people talks about how much cold plunge can help you in terms of liberating endorphins that will repair your body, and then they said that the sauna, like you got to be there until you feel like you're going to pass out and stuff like that to make it happen.
Right.
When you fight for your life, it happens exactly the same thing. When you do a sprint alt out, like you just don't stop, you just fucking roll over.
Right.
You're still creating the same effect. But most people don't understand that. Doctors are talking from one side of, but just because they find out in the books and they are doing try and error in the lab, but they are studying people who's regular people. They never comes to let me see how bodybuilders do this stuff.
Right.
Because remember, what bodybuilders do or extreme athletes do is trying to surpass natural humans' condition. So the people who is living in cold places, how they handle this thing? The body comes to that.
Adapts to it, yeah.
It adapts to that. There is some guys, man, in social media who already overcome paralyzing in the entire body, and they are competing in bodybuilding. There is one guy that I follow that he lost his leg in the front, and now if you see this guy, because the body adjusts everything and you still like leaning and so on, but this guy do a deadlift and his waist, his pelvis don't move. It's like he have the two legs.
Wow.
And it's only one. So he's just so strong in this area.
Yeah.
And he squat 225 front with one leg.
With one leg?
You gotta see it.
That's amazing. You gotta show that.
I'll show you. So all of these things is being telling me how much challenge you can put in your body and it will respond. So but we have been like again teach it in a wrong direction. Like the body doesn't go there. Only the person who goes through it is the only one who can make it happen. And other people's not gonna question it. They're just gonna they're gonna see the situation. They're not gonna see the work that the guy is doing it. So it's like you see somebody asking for money in the street, and maybe your partner will say like, "This guy's not working. Look at him asking for money." He have to walk to the stoplight to ask for the money. It's not that a job. Be there, show up. That's his job.
Right.
So when people's talking about abundance, bro, everybody's talking about abundance, but in terms of materialism. Because if we talk about abundance is everything in the whole existence. And these are things that it puts me in a situation where I feel like it's a lot of information out there, but it's confusing people. Because you don't have to drink anything to cleanse your body. You just have not to put anything that's wrong in your body.
Right. So when's your next show?
It's in Tampa, in Florida, in August.
August?
Yeah. I'm getting ready for it. We'll start next month.
Okay.
I'm gonna take like 16 weeks to go on the show.
Yeah.
So based on that thing is for me a little more easier in terms of start pushing your body and like little by little until you start going hardcore close to the end of the competition, and then just start just backing up a little bit and let the body just sit down. And
so when you say hardcore, what changes in your training?
Like for example, let's say starting with what I'm doing right now, exactly the same thing in terms of training.
Yeah.
And just start adding food.
Okay.
Adding food.
So it's really just more fueling the body more?
Exactly.
Yeah, you do the same stuff, but you're just feeding the body a little bit more.
Feeding the body, exactly. Yeah. So once the body is full at some point, let's say I go all the way to 255, because every morning I'm waking up at 2:40.
Okay.
So I will start eating 4 meals every day to see in 2 weeks, I will see where it goes. Seeing cardio, seeing amount of workout. And then in terms of gears, what I'm taking, all supplements, amino acids, vitamins, stuff like that. But I'm taking testosterone as a testosterone replacement therapy. And I'm taking equipoise once you see every week only. So just to make it functional, you know? So, and then eventually I'm going to start with a proper cycle. Like, okay, put the testosterone at 750, put the equipoise in 600, and then.
And how long do you do that for?
That's what I was about to say. Sorry, let's say 4 to 5, 6 weeks.
Okay.
And then based on the look, I start adding things to see more grainy and, so because I don't have to build anything. I just have to make it work.
Right.
So.
And what's the window of time that you eat your meals? Because are you still fasting that long, while you do this?
Yes.
So
what I would know, as soon as I start the prep, what I will be doing the first month is gonna be just adding the food.
So you can't fast as long, right?
No, I'm just gonna reduce fasting to maybe 16 hours.
Okay.
For sure, 16 hours. And then later, I'm gonna add more food if it's necessary, but then it's gonna be smaller because I cannot blow up all the way up to the 260 to 70. I gotta keep it 255 and just hold it right there. Hold it right there. And then getting around like 4 weeks to the show is when I'm gonna start just like, okay, let's put more carbohydrates just to keep the muscle full and speed up metabolism. I'm gonna start training a little more like complex, multi-joints, lifting, like a more heavy, let's say I will be doing heavy duty. Like every other day, I'm gonna just do heavy weights and more like complex workouts, like squatting heavy, 2-3 sets only in that workout. I'm gonna be doing like dumbbell rows, things to make everything just get.
So it's less volume,
but
more
heavy
intensity,
weights,
heavy
exactly.
weights, right?
That is what gonna make the body looks more like grainy and
hard,
and
right?
hard.
Yeah.
So until the date of the show, because the medication is gonna be doing the other part. So all muscle attachment, all this is something that at some point I just gonna make people understand that there is a lot of bodybuilders pushing, and then at the end of the prep, they push even more. It's like, okay, if you start doing cardio and you start 20 weeks previous to the show, you start doing cardio and you start using fat burners and you start using clenbuterol, what are you going to be using by the end? Cocaine? Something crazy,
exactly.
right?
Right.
So you're not supposed to go all, because at the end of the day, it's a stress management.
Right.
There is one thing that I'm also working on is, do you work out to build muscle? But the mechanism is like, you always need like 72 hours to recover your entire nerve system. So if you want to just build as much muscles as possible, heavy duty is going to be good. Like a 2 days on workout and 1 day off.
To make sure that you're breaking
Recover
down the
a little
muscle
bit
and
enough,
then getting it repaired, right?
Exactly. So,
allowing it to repair.
But most people is like, no day off.
Right.
And then the stress.
Well, we are no days off, just not on working out.
Then the stress is going to create some kind of look that is going to lie to you, because you're still doing the process, but some kind of like your condition is not 100%. Why? Because your body is just inflamed from not resting.
Right.
And then when you rest for like 3 days, because of, let's say you just get peace and you don't go to the gym or something happens, and then you show up to the gym, oh, look at how my body is. I didn't work out for 3 days and it looked better.
Right.
Well, because you rested, you're not seeing it, because the anxiety of, I cannot miss a day.
Right.
I cannot miss a session. I cannot miss a meal. And this is happening a lot. I'm already going through it. When I give up, like when you, as you say, like there's things in life that sometimes you try to pursue it, and at some point it's like, it's not giving up, but when you release the resistance is when everything comes. And I saw that happen on me, and the same thing with happiness, the same thing with knowing who you are in terms of what do you want to do, what is your sense of, like, you want to be a loving person, or you want to be someone who just want to go crazy and kill people, So it's things like this that makes me realize that, okay, I'm going to do this again, because not everyone have second opportunity in life, And if I can tell you something again from God, man, my mom almost died and she's still there. My relationship with her, I understand her from the size of being a mother, and then from the size of being a woman. So my relationship with her is amazing. My relation with my wife is amazing, because everything that we went through it, we are seeing each other as human individuals who wants to have a relationship. She's not expecting me to be the perfect guy. She let me be who I am, whatever I want to do. She just there for support. And I do the same thing with her, not trying to make her look any way or trying just to make her think any way. You don't support me, good. Because, I realize that most of humans react to life in terms of instinct, but they don't even know they are doing this. Instincts, human instincts, in terms of, like, for example, my wife was raised by his father, in terms of his father say, this is what it be to be a man, and you should not let anybody touch you this way or this way or this way, and send. So she was like fucking ready for war. When I met her, I grew up in a house where everybody was a woman. The only figure as a man, it was my older brothers, but they never be there. So my way of treating a woman is very soft. And my way to be a man is soft. But I'm good in competition. And when I become to be a bodybuilder, I was just believing in me so much that by instinct, that chose to my wife security and myself. That's why when I become to be depressed, I couldn't hear her telling me like, oh, you should do this, you should do that, as a man who teach her what is to be a man. and that creates a whole problem between us. And I was about to give up to my relationship, and that's why I say I had a second opportunity with her, because when I realized that it's not about her, it's about me, I was like, yeah, you always been there to make me find anything I always wanted, and that's what God gave us as a Eve to Adam. No matter what you want through a woman, but we have been seeing it from Christianity, like, oh, your wife is the person, a woman. First, your mother. It could be next someone you support as a friend, your sister, even your employer can be that person who makes you feel at home. Is what every man is looking for in a relationship, something that makes him feels, and his mother would like want, but he never knew about it. But I found out just talking with my mother, because when my mother talks to me, even when she were living with my sisters, she couldn't explain them what she was feeling, and the only thing I did to find out was, how do you feel?
Just asked. Right.
As I asked myself one time, why am I acting this way? And the answer came out immediately. You can't hide the answer, but you gotta make it. But it's voluntary. People will question it, but you're gonna close the door. So all of these things for me is being just teaching me how to treat with people. Comes from the idea of, oh, we are God, so we gotta love others the way we love ourselves. And then when you really start loving yourself, you're still living in that sense that you never ever find somebody coming to you with violence. Since I start acting like this and living like that, bro, like you said, you start to understand the power of creating your own reality. And this is what have been happening for me the last 6 months of this awakening, let's say.
Yeah.
Everything is absolutely perfect in any sense. Talking to people like the same thing over and over, like, oh, you, and it's like, how we never talk about this before? It's just because we wasn't there.
Right.
And it's all of this information that is making it happen. It's like when you see these masters talking about, oh, the earth is gonna shift to, it's like hearing Christianity people talking about God's coming back. It really is, might be this way how it's gonna happen, you know? So we don't know, but something's gonna happen. Same thing that when you wanna create something and you start just focusing in the, oh, this is the way I structure it to make it happen, God's gonna tell you, it might not be that way.
Right.
I'm gonna help you to make it happen, but you gotta release the idea to you structure it to happen. And then when you release that, is when you're not resistant anymore, and then things start happening the way you want it, but not exactly the way you want it, but you start seeing it happening, and then you will feel like, oh, thank you, because this is still fighting, like, oh my God, I'm finding people that is connecting with me in this idea, and I never talked to this person before. I thought it was mine, you know, things like that. For example, I'm trying to create something that will help everybody in terms of accepting themselves and, you know, God greatest creation, right? And everybody have a gift, helping people to accepting themselves, express it, just leave it. No matter what, if it looks like somebody else's talent, but you're gonna create something different because you're gonna give it a different identity. So you might connect with more people through that. Don't worry, but just do it. But shame is what keep off, like, no, doing that first step, because we don't want to be criticized. We don't want to be, you know. So, and that's why I'm trying just to speak a little more from what I think it is common sense in life. So that's why I was about to tell you that when I hear these people giving information away and saying like, oh, carbohydrates are bad, sugar is addictive, I say like, I cannot believe this guy went to school and have this PhD behind them and they are talking this way, bro. Let me tell you this. How hard it takes to explain people Carbohydrates are simple carbohydrates, nothing else. You are so irresponsible as an individual that you not put action in terms of control yourself, bro. No one tells you the sugar doesn't go to your mouth by itself. It's not the sugar what is poisoning or addictive. You are taking the sugar to put it into your food or just eating the sugar. You are the one who buy the Coca-Cola. You are the one who don't want to go to the gym. So everyone somebody says, oh, this is the perfect diet to do, you're still supporting obesity. You're still supporting like people not go to the gym because everyone who's trying to find the thing that works better to burn fat is with excuse to not go to the gym. You gotta go because the body have to move. Because if you don't move the body, muscle atrophy is the first thing. From muscle atrophy, you're gonna have shortened muscle. From shortened muscle, you're gonna have joint pain because tendons start getting hurt. And then the joint doesn't work good, you're gonna have a problem in your body. That's how you get deteriorated over years. That it doesn't mean you're aging.
Right.
You know, so then doctors take advantage of this, and doctors wasn't educated as well. Only this generation of people who's going to the gym more often and they are doctors, I like to ask them, it feels like you have been learning, and say, no. And that's why one of the first things I want to do, come into the podcast and see how it works. I'm probably going to make a podcast and interview people that I know they are living the fitness lifestyle. I have been living in Miami since 2010, so I know a lot of people who's been doing training, but also are people who work in the medicine area.
Right.
And I have been talking to them recently, and they say like, yeah, you should do it because it's another complete thing. And by today, understanding immune system and knowing the immune system is based on how do you eat, you know, and I was talking with some friend of mine that they already have kids. I have been seeing them trying to make it easier with nutrition for them. And I say, natural food, more natural sources food is better, because this is something that I learned it through just going on internet. One, I found a page that it was paying people $900 for poop.
For what?
Poop.
Poop.
And I was like, why? And then I found out that they were study the microbiota of these people. And the people have to be around 1975 till 1990. And then I was like, why? Because in that years, 1988, so 1982, something.
What, born?
1980.
1977.
Okay, 1977, yeah. Cool. So in your childhood, anything you eat, it was organic.
Right, right.
So 50 years later is, I mean, like when you burn around that time is when they create the food pyramid. So, and that was
the processed food.
The processed food comes in. And what happened after they create that, the people around that time that were using that food, by this age, they have a really, really bad immune system,
right.
Weak as hell. Any problem with sick illness, they die. And that's exactly what happened. So that makes me realize that, oh my God, organic food really works. It's important. This nutrition of animal protein is important. Fasting is the most easy way to clean the system. So how people is not seeing this information out there for free, they're not looking for it. They're looking for the easy ways to do it.
Yeah, well, most people want the quick fix. They don't want the long-term fix.
So, and again, fitness, man, is showing that the only way to live is taking care of the body and moving the body, taking action. You can do any kind of discipline. You can swim, that it requires a lot of effort because you gotta move the entire body at the same time.
Right.
So you can dance. You can just run, not walk because it's still not that powerful, unless you do a really powerful walk, but no one's gonna still doing it. So, and that's my message right now. So in all of these things, like my career is I focus on that and say how much I travel around the world and stuff like this. But today I can say just like God give me a reason to be living this experience. Now I'm clear about it, and that's what I want to do.
That was awesome, man.